Joe Rowling asked me to read this here today. Having seen Dan Radcliffe's screen test, I don't think Chris Columbus could have found a better Harry. I wish Dan, Emma, and Rupert the very best of luck and hope that they have as much fun acting the first year at Hogwarts as I had writing it.
I think I'm a tiny bit like Harry, because I'd like to have an owl.
Staring out at a room full of reporters on his very first day as Harry Potter, blinking at the popping flashbulbs and gamely fending off reporters' questions, there was no doubt about it. Daniel Radcliffe was in for the ride of his life. For 10 years, Daniel has lived a fantasy on the cloistered sets at Leavesden Studios and facing the frenzied excitement of fans from around the world. It's been a strange and wondrous and sometimes even unsettling journey. And the one person who can really identify with Daniel's incredible journey is J.K.Rowling herself, because she's lived it too. In 1990, she began writing her 7-book Harry Potter series with little expectation, and then watched it grow into a phenomenon unprecedented in the world of literature. And now, for the first time on camera, J.K. Rowling and Daniel Radcliffe will share their experiences over a decade of Harry Potter.
How are you?
Not bad at all. Did I just tread on you?
No, not at all. Please have a seat. Excellent. So, this is exciting.
Yes, it is
This
exciting.
is a chance to ask each other...
All the things we've asked each other off camera, but now do it in front of the camera.
But now do it in front of the
Exactly,
camera,
yeah.
absolutely. And I'm going to try and be much more profound and insightful than I ever have been
Go
off
for it.
camera.
I'm looking forward to this.
Okay, yeah. I was, this is my chance where I realised that doing the interviewing is actually not an easy thing to do at all.
That's okay. We can swap. I can interview you in a bit.
Yeah, that would be brilliant. Okay, so I thought to begin at the beginning, how involved were you in the casting process, and how much do I have to thank you for? But do you remember working with Chris?
Involved,
or?
Yeah, I was involved, not to the extent that I was sitting in on auditions, but they were keeping me really fully informed. As you know, we found Rupert and Emma and they were perfect, and that was a done deal, and we still couldn't find you. Will you say how you were found?
Well,
'Cause it was just, it was amazing, really.
It was a bizarre kind of moment. Originally, what had happened was that David Heyman, the producer, knew my dad because my dad had been a literary agent, and my dad had worked with David's mum. And so David sort of asked my dad if I would audition, and the original deal that we'd heard was going to be to do 6 films, and it was going to be done in America, and it was all sort of,
It was going to be done in America. No one ever told me that.
Well, obviously, maybe that's why it changed, because you probably put your foot down at some point, or they just went, Joe won't agree to that.
They know me quite well.
Which was good, to be honest. That would not been good. But I'm not somebody who particularly believes in fate and destiny and all those things, but my parents do. And so the final straw was the fact that I went to the theatre to see a production of Stones in His Pockets, and David Heyman and Steve Clovis, who adapted all but one of the books, happened to be sitting in the row in front.
You believe it?
And I was sat there for the whole time thinking, why is that man keep
Staring
looking
at me?
around
This is very creepy.
It was very creepy.
I need to phone someone.
It was very odd. And I remember at the interval, my mum and my dad both looking kind of quite intense about something. But you know, when as a kid you're aware that you're being purposely kept out of the loop, for your own good kind of thing. And I remember we went up the stairs and out of the theatre, and then sort of hid behind a pillar. I seem to remember that it's some absurd notion that David Heyman and Steve Clovis were going to chase after us, grab us.
And make you be a child actor.
And then there was some debate as to whether we would go back in for the second half, but I was really enjoying the play. Yeah, and so we went back in, and then the next day my mum and dad sort of went, oh, well, maybe maybe it is the God sort of trying to tell us something, you know.
But there were a lot of strange coincidences. And then they called me and said, we think we've found him. And then the first time I ever saw you was on screen in my sitting room at home.
Really?
They sent me a video of you. And the curious thing is, and I'm like, I don't believe in fate and destiny.
Which is interesting, because it comes up so much in the book.
Absolutely. I think you make your own.
Yeah.
But so I saw you on that audition tape, and it was, I don't think I've ever really told you that I found incredibly moving.
Oh, thank you so
and
much.
and
Cheers.
almost, I mean, it was incredibly moving. At that point, I didn't have a son.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So, and I phoned David up, and I said, he's great, he's fantastic. And I did say to David, it was like watching my son on screen. Because after all, Harry feels like this ghostly son that I've had in my life. But, you know, to be honest, you and Rupert and Emma are all too good looking, frankly.
Oh.
You are, you know, the characters were geeky, and you...
Did you know that was going to happen? Did you sort of think they might...
Idiot. I'm not an idiot.
Yeah.
I did, particularly when do you know what, it was really lucky I spoke to Emma first on the phone before I met her, because I fell absolutely in love with her. She said to me, I've only ever acted in school drama plays before, and God, oh my God, I'm so nervous, I can't believe I got the part. And then she spoke for like 60 seconds at least without drawing breath, and I just said, Emma, you're perfect. And then when I met her, and she was this very beautiful, which she still is, of course, beautiful girl, I just kind of had to go, okay, it's film, you know, deal with it. I'm going to still see my gawky, geeky, ugly duckling Hermione in my mind, but...
Do you think that in a way we shot ourselves in the foot with things like that for then Emma's reveal in the fourth film, where she comes downstairs and there is supposed to have been this transformation?
Well, exactly.
Because we were all looking going, well, she was already a beautiful girl.
Yeah, big deal. Now she's a beautiful girl in a beautiful dress.
Yes.
And putting her in Fair Isle sweaters in the first film didn't make her ugly. Not that Hermione in the books is ever ugly, but it was quite a big deal for me that I had written, you know, a strong female character who was primarily about brain, and that she chose to become a little more groomed and glamorous, as you know, us geeks do at a certain point in our lives. But I accepted it. Emma's a great actress, and I loved her as a person. Yeah. And I felt there were so many connections between her and Hermione that did it matter that she was beautiful? Come on.